and welcome to the first ever episode of Steph on Skills, powered by Enginuity. Now, Enginuity is a charity run by Alan Watson, who's with us. So you and I have worked together a long time. We've always talked about skills. There is a skills crisis. We know we need to, do more. But set the scene. Before we talk to Mel, who's one of these super talented skills people we need more of, and just set the scene for us. Well, as you said, Steph, we've got a skills crisis. We've talked about narrowing the skills gap for years and years and years, and we still haven't achieved it. So I think now we need to call it a crisis and get people actually to start sitting up and taking notice. The podcast is about creating awareness and getting the word out there, creating our own media. Because engineering and manufacturing, and we'll hear from Mel, is an absolutely fantastic sector to be in. It does some brilliant things. If we removed everything here today, we'd be sat outside on the floor. Yeah. Because everything is engineered or manufactured. And the opportunities for kids, for adults, for anybody into the sector is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic opportunities. You can earn good money. And we're here today on Teesside, which is where we come from. Yeah. So it's great to launch it. Can't say that to Mel, though. Mel be like, don't start calling me a Teessider. You're much further north, but we'll come to that. Yeah. We'll put the rivalry to one side. We won't get onto football. But it's great to be here on Teesside to kick off the first podcast, because it is an industrial heartland, and it's regions like Teesside that have such a strong engineering manufacturing heritage, but crying out for good jobs for people. Yeah. And I think what I'd like to see is actually really raising the profile of the opportunities available. Yeah. And that's what we will do. And what I want to do in this first episode, because we can talk all the theory, but the reason why, Mel, we wanted to chat to you, this is Mel Stewart, and I would like, so you're an award-winning welder from Cramlington. So, because I want to just hear about your story into your job, because it is unfortunately unusual to get a woman doing welding. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is. And I just want to talk about why you love it so much, how you got into it, and the kind of barriers you faced as well, and what we can do to overcome them. So take me right back to the beginning. When did you work out you wanted to be a welder? Did you know what one was growing up?
No.
Right.
Yeah. And I wasn't from initially in a welding background. My dad wasn't a welder. He was a mechanical fitter. And he worked down the pits.
Yeah.
And he started his own engineering company. And when I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was good with academic stuff, but it wasn't interesting to me. So I didn't want to do that. I just left, and I was just bumming around, to be honest. And it was my mum who had said, take her to work, get her a job, get her off her backside kind of thing. And I went into his business, which was an engineering company. And I was in the office, and it was just like a totally different world for me. When I looked out of that window on the shop floor, I was like, what is this? Magic, what's going on?
Seeing the sparks.
It was just like, it just drew us in, I was just really taken by it, I think it kind of switched something on in my creative mind. I was like, I want to see what this is all about. So I went out on the shop floor and I started sniffing around, trying to nudge my way in. Much to the guys, they were like, woman, get back in office kind of thing. And my dad would come into the office and he'd be like, oh, where's Mel? Oh, she's on the shop floor. And he's like, oh, what we're going to do about this? So he offered us an apprenticeship, and I was like, all right, can I do this? And he was like, yeah. So I started a mechanical apprenticeship, and I did a year of that, and I was like, that isn't what I was wanting. I want to be where the sparks and the heat is kind of thing. And he was like, right, well, we can move you across to a welding and fabrication apprenticeship. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. So that was just like, and I'm talking a little bit further on from me leaving school. I left school with no idea what I was going to do. I had no...
Yeah. So how old were you when you started doing the welding one then, the apprenticeship?
Initially about 17, 18. Yeah. There's a couple of years had gone by. I'd done a bar job, and, I was just... There wasn't anything at school that kind of said, Mel, here's opportunities that would suit you. Because it was do I have to do something academic? Do I have to, have a passion for science? Do I have to have a passion for maths? And unfortunately, at the time, I didn't have that passion. I mean,
you hadn't seen
now,
because you hadn't seen how it could be applied.
Exactly, and I think that's what's missing. It's like when you're doing physics, you could say to the kids, if you're interested in physics, you could do this mechanical engineering kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's true that, isn't it? And there's that gap in what you learn at school to what actually you can apply in jobs and understand might lead to a job, whether it's transferable skills or just knowing that the science you're doing from a textbook or whatever, I'm sure it's moved on from a textbook, I'm really old, but that is something you can do, which is a tangible job later on down the line that you might not have even ever heard of. Yeah, I think you're right. Putting things into context, as kind of Mel saw, is really important, because it gives maths and English like a purpose, doesn't it? Yeah. Like, as you go through school, you follow the curriculum, but it's all the same. And you as a kid, you don't know what's the point, isn't it? Yeah. As a kid, what are the point of this? Particularly if they don't fall in love with maths or English. Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of an apprenticeship is actually you can learn maths and you can learn IT and you can learn other skills, but it's in the context. So you actually see why you're doing this, and why it's important. Yeah, exactly that. So Mel, you've got your welding apprenticeship by this point. Yeah. Then what happens?
Oh, wow. Do you want the short story?
Well, we've got about 20 minutes left. So.
Now, like, I faced a lot of adversity in my job, and I was always trying to better myself, and I always thought to myself, if I want to do well in this trade, I've got to try and take everything I can from it. So I paid attention to my co-workers who I was working with, my mentors, and they would be showing us how to do different aspects of sheet metal work, mechanical, welding, fabrication, and I just thought, I've got to be this sponge, because I knew it was going to be hard, because the day-to-day comments that I was facing, I thought, this world is not for me.
Is it what you mean, sexism?
Oh, yeah. That and the rest, you know what I mean? It was always like, women shouldn't be on the shop floor, get back in the kitchen, blah, 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 and I was like, all right, is this the way it is?
Yeah.
And there was...
This is not that long ago, because you're not old, so like we're not talking that long ago. It's just the incredible phase.
90s. Yeah. I have 50 next year.
You still look like an apprentice.
Well, I don't know how, because it's been a rough road. Yeah. No, but
seriously, this seems tough. I mean, how did you get through that? Like, what mentally?
I haven't got a clue, because there was one moment in particular I actually thought, what's this life got to offer me? I actually had those dark thoughts, because it was constant everyday bullying, and I was like, I can't take this. And I was reaching out to my dad, but he was like, I can't give you favoritism, because if I show you favoritism, these guys are going to hate you even more.
Yeah.
And I was like, what have I got to do? You know what I mean? So I don't know whether he understood to that extent of how bad it was, but I just thought, no, you know what it is? You are not going to push me away from doing something I want to do.
Yeah.
I got angry, I think.
Yeah. And it worked, because you've got a job you love now, haven't you?
Exactly, yeah.
And please tell me, has it changed, like, in terms of...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there still is them little hints that we've come a long way, but there's still a little way to go, I would say,
Yeah.
We still need to make those changes and just educate people, People still ask now, oh, Mel's doing welding engineering, does she know what she's talking about? And I was like, if I was a guy, would you be asking the same question?
Yeah.
To which, I know what I'm talking about. Just.
And you at one point you were changing your name on applications.
I did,
you weren't with Melanie.
Yeah, I changed it to Mel, just to try and get that opportunity to talk to people, because I thought, at least if I can talk to people, I can tell them what I can do and like sell myself. You know what I mean? And I mean, one example was a really good job up in Aberdeen that came up, and I was like, oh, this would be amazing, like good money. I was working at the docks, and I was like, I really, really want to do this. So I got a phone call off this agency guy, and he was like, can I speak to Mel? And I was like, speaking. And he went, oh, can I not speak to your husband? And I was like, you're barking up the wrong tree there, mister. You know what I mean? It's it's me you want to be talking to. And he was like, all right, okay. And he was like, listen, I'm going to have to get back in touch with my client. And I was like, right, okay. So he rang us back, often they didn't ring us back. But he rang us back a bit later and he was like, I'm really sorry, but we can't offer you the opportunity. And I was like, well, why? And he was like, because we haven't got the facilities for women. And I was like, in what respect? And they were like, well, toilets and welfare. And I was like, I'll pay in a bucket if I have to. I'm not bothered. I said, seriously, do not write me off for this. He says that my hands are tied from a safety aspect. And I was like, and it was just like disappointment after disappointment.
Yeah. And like, it's really awful you've gone through all that. And it's so good now that things are changing and more needs to be done. But, and I mean, I bet there's a lot of women out there in various different engineering jobs who, of a certain age who have experienced stuff like that. But please tell me on the whole, it's a lot different now.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. And I think it's changed a lot because of women like Mel, the other trailblazers who've gone through it and experienced really tough times, but not given up and continued to go through and made a successful career. And now are brilliant role models for girls and boys thinking about a career in engineering.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely more we can do. But I think the very fact that we need so many more people coming into the sector, employers are now starting to look at females as well as men. And Mel and I were having a chat and Mel was telling me actually there is some advantages that women have got over men when it comes to welding.
Yeah.
Centre of gravity.
Yeah. I was reading about it's like dexterity and centre of gravity. It makes them more like able to comfortably do the job. So there is those benefits to having a woman do it, and not just that. I mean, I always say, why wouldn't we be able to do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What really makes that different? We're all, two hands. We've got the ability to be able to do that. Why can't we all be able and work together?
Can you explain for anyone who doesn't really know what a welder is? I mean, people will have preconceptions of it, but what do you do day to day?
Well, I've actually moved away from welding now. I'm more on the welding engineering side.
What's the difference?
The difference is that I kind of work with the certification side of it, the compliance. So I have to look at the structural integrity of things and make sure that they're being welded correctly. And Mel, who left school back in the 90s, would have turned around and said, hell no, I'll not be doing that.
Yeah.
But it's really, really interesting. And I think that's why it's good to go out there and say, look, I started out where I was welding and I did all the different processes and I did the fabrication and it was really good and I got to be creative and I got to travel the world. And
tell us about that, like in what way? What were you doing that led you to travelling, and what type of, when you say be creative, what does that mean in welding perspective?
It's just to I was doing little bits of artwork and that, like in my spare time. And when you see people doing these little bolt men and
little sculptures.
Yeah, you can just do, I made a bed. My mum still got it. At her house, yeah, Gothic style bed. It's like, it's still standing. Now that tells you that it was decent. But you can explore things like that in creativity. But not only that, you can also, you want the best from your welding, if you know what I mean. You look at that weld that you've just put down and you'll think, right, I want it better next time. And it can look quite pretty as well.
Yeah.
And, you can try.
Somebody welded me a rose once.
Yeah.
Like a metal rose, and then it was beautiful. I've still got it in a vase at home.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, it isn't just about welding structures and pipelines. You can weld anything, you know what I mean?
And is it a skill that's in demand?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
In construction at the minute, I know that the work rate is going up, like extensively. But I was reading the statistic from the online statistics, and it was something about in 2006, I think it was, there was about 70,000 welders in the UK. And in 2021, there was what was it again? It was like 33,000.
So the numbers are
48%
coming COVID.
I was like, whoa, you know, what's happening?
The work has come back. And so,
well, it's increasing, that's the thing, you know. I mean,
what type of projects are we talking? And you mentioned travel, where have you been and that type of thing?
Well, I worked a lot in oil and gas initially, so I travelled to like sites like Ras Laffan in Qatar, being there. I went out to the Gazprom site in Russia, and that was mainly overseeing builds for a company I was working for, making sure that if they did do any welding there, that it was to like our acceptance criteria.
Australia, we were there for a while.
I worked over there as a welder in Australia when I was travelling, different companies.
Was it easy to pick up that work as well?
It was okay over there. I mean, it was different agencies that focused around people travelling. So, and it was such a, over there they were like screaming for welders. So as soon as I said, oh, I'm a welder, they were like, get her in, you know.
So it was the qualifications they were...
Yeah, absolutely.
Not.
And believe it or not, in one of the companies I went to, one of the guys had said to us, he says, the stuff that you know, I don't know what it is in the UK, but I think you've had a much better apprenticeship than what I've had. And he was like asking me to show him certain things, like how to weld certain ways. And I just found that really interesting. And like, I loved passing on my knowledge, and I do that now. I really want to pass it on as well. I want to be given that opportunity, you know, and any chance I can, I will. So.
And I'm always one to ask about money, given I'm a financial journalist as well.
Yeah.
Is the money all right? Like, is this a profession you can make money in? Because I know we always shy away from talking about these things.
Yeah. No, to be honest with you, I was saying to Anne when we were outside before there that there has been points in my career where I've been making more money than a doctor. So...
it just shows you how much your skills needed. And that's the thing people don't realise, do they? Because obviously a doctor will study medicine for a lot of expense for a long, long time. You obviously did an apprenticeship where you're being paid while you're working, and in something that's ended up earning more money at times. People forget that, don't they, Anne?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And occupations like welding, where there's a desperate need for skilled welders, can earn lots of money because there's so few of them. And I guess if you look at some of the big projects that are going on at the moment, so things like Hinkley Point C, the defence sector needs welders. The big wind farm site that's going to be built on Teesside, a £900 million investment, will need welders.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic occupation to be in. And I guess the great thing about welding is what you weld can change, can't it? It allows you to go into other sectors, other roles, other companies.
Yeah, and you're right. There's so many big infrastructure projects up in Blythe. There's the AI plant that's going to need a lot of construction welding in that. So, so this doesn't sound too much like welding for us, sure. what are the other things that we're talking about here? So you've got welding, but there's lots of other skills within this area as well, aren't there, that have been cried out for?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you look at Teesside, I mean, there's a huge amount of investment going in. As I say, you've got the wind turbine manufacturing facility, big investment in terms of net zero, things like carbon capture. You've got a Freeport here on Teesside. You've got, was £140 million of investment for Darlington railway station. And if you look at all of these different projects, the different types of engineering and manufacturing skills that will be needed will have so much variety and so different.
And similarly, a lot of things going on down south as well, like the Oxford-Cambridge corridor, where they want to build this whole investment there, the third runway at Heathrow, if it ever happens. But there's so much going on. It's a key time to get into it. And would you say, Mel, now, given your route into it, was probably quite unusual in the way, given your dad had the engineering business. But what are is it quite easy to get into? Is it, when did you even start when you're thinking about something like this?
I think if you approach your local colleges and things like that, to be honest with you, you'll see a lot of companies that are reaching out for apprentices. I mean, even our place, we take on a lot of apprentices each year.
Yeah.
And that's not just, we're diversifying with like a multi-skilled apprenticeship. Electrical, we've got girls who are working in their electrical apprenticeships at the minute, and we've got a girl who's also doing welding and fabrication, which is great, Molly.
Do you see yourself in her when you're watching her? You're like,
it's like, you know what it is? I'm kind of keeping an eye from a distance, but I don't want to see her go through what I went through. So it's kind of like I'm just watching from a background, you know, and making sure that I'm like that quiet person just sitting making sure everything's all right.
Yeah.
Then I would intervene, you know. But I don't think it would be like that for her, you know, where I work. They're like a diverse employee.
Yeah.
You know, they do go for, you know, it's like I said, Anne out there as well, you know, they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They've got...
That's what you need. Everyone brings different skills. And
exactly. And, you know, multicultural, where, you know, lots of women work in there, lots of engineers, females. It's great.
And what type of people are you looking for? Because the other thing is, I often think that people won't realise that they are the type of person that you're looking for. What's the main... You know, aside from the qualifications you can teach them in welding, just what's the type of person?
I suppose people who are willing to kind of, you know, embrace different aspects of stuff that maybe they thought they wouldn't be interested in. Like you were saying, mathematics, science, you know, if I'd thought it's like when I left school that welding, right, Mel, you're going to do welding, but it's quite heavily science-based, I would have been like, oh, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But then it's science with an edge, if you know what I mean, and it becomes more interesting because you've got such a passion about the actual trade itself.
Yeah.
And they were saying to me as well about problem solving, how creative it is, and how people like kids who like to solve problems or want to be creative, actually, those are the kind of skills, isn't it? That's like a good welder or a good engineer.
Yeah.
And our curiosity.
There's some good stuff out there at the minute. I mean, you were talking about like AI, and there's some augmented reality units you can buy now, which is like, have you seen them? The welding screen,
they're actually
a projector, and I think they are absolutely brilliant to be able to. I mean, you're reaching out to a younger generation. You know, they've got all the VR sets.
Yeah, it's like gaming.
Exactly. So they would probably be more engaged than going in and saying, "Hi, this is welding. Here's a couple of videos there," kind of thing, and they'll be like, But if you were to say literally, here, stick this screen on and put a weld down, they'll be like, oh, hang on a second. And I think that's how you would get more.
Yeah, it's true. It's been on young people's level, isn't it, in terms of where they're learning stuff.
Exactly.
That's where you should do it. I love, Mel, the way your face lights up when you talk about your job, though, like a little sparkle going in your eyes. And you're
like, isn't it?
Yeah. So I guess to like wrap things up then, Anne, what, you know, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh God, I want to be like Mel or whatever, you know, what are companies looking for people? It isn't about, is it, the specific qualifications necessarily. I know there's often requirements around maths and English or whatever, but it's more about the person, isn't it? Just being willing to learn.
Yeah, it's very much, I think, for employers, it's that attitude, it's that curiosity, it's the wanting to learn, it's the wanting to apply themselves. Those attributes go much, much further, I think, for most employers than having the right qualifications. Because when you start an apprenticeship or you go into engineering or manufacturing or start a degree, you start on the basis that actually you don't know anything. So you're not expected to come with a set of skills. It is just that, as I say, that real passion to do something and create something.
And I guess now, like, I know when I was doing my apprenticeship years ago, you get moved around departments as well. That's the other thing. So you might go in wanting to do one thing and then come out wanting to be a welder, or vice versa. There's loads of, you can learn in one particular company. There's so many different departments and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, somebody once said to me that engineering is the biggest team sport because it's not just about the engineers, it's about all of the other departments as well.
Yeah,
I mean, and I worked for many, many years in engineering. I'm not an engineer. I was in marketing.
Yeah. But you need to be able to sell the stuff you make. Your marketing's key as well. And that, it's fascinating. And Mel, I guess final thought with you then, on like, what do you want people watching and listening to this to take away from it all in terms of skills?
In terms of skills, I think it'll be good for people to just understand that it doesn't matter what your background is, whether you're academic at school or not. If you're the naughty kid, which I was, there's still opportunity out there for you, and engineering is a great thing to be involved in. You know, like you say, it's shaping the future, and we're on like this precipice of like, advanced technology, which is it's really exciting as well, you know. And you still need people to like learn all these different core skills to be able to develop that technology as well. So, you know, welders will need to program welding robots. So it's just like there's so much stuff to look forward to in the future. And, you know, it would just be great to see more people coming in. Just
such a good point.
Yeah,
because it's like, it feels like we're about to go into the next industrial revolution with like AI and how technology is moving, and you want to be part of that.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
need to let you get back to work, don't we?
Yeah.
Thanks very much for this.
Thank you.
But that's it. And just before I let you go, do follow us on wherever you get your podcasts, and that will mean you never miss an episode. Also, we'd love it if you got in touch with us. You can email us, sospod@enginuity.org, because we'd love to hear from you. Maybe you're someone who's in the middle of your engineering career, you're starting out, you want to know more, you've got questions about it, you want to tell us your life story. We are very happy to hear it. So just email us, sospod@enginuity.org, and we will be back with another episode soon. Bye-bye.